All right, we're recording.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Den of Weebs. I'm Frankie,
I'm AJ.
and we are checking out Spiritbox's Secret Garden music video. We already checked out the song, and then they released that they were going to show the music video an hour after we uploaded it. So that was fun. So since we've already listened to the song, we're basically just gonna watch the video straight through, and then we're gonna talk about it at the end. And we're gonna kind of go more in depth in it since we've already listened to the song a few times at this point. So let us know if you like that at the end after you watch it in the comments, all that good stuff. But let me get everything ready on my end.
Yeah. And if anybody wants
Okay,
to be upset that we're doing it twice, get over it. We got more stuff coming soon.
yes. Also, I mean, the anytime Spirit Box releases a song, if we want to blind react to it, we have to do it soon because there's no way I can hold out for like a week to listen to new Spirit Box stuff. So
I
sorry
don't know
guys,
what
just
you're
go
talking
ahead and
about.
deal with it. All right, you ready, AJ?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, three, two, one, go.
Looking back, you're mistaken. Was it drought or euphoria that could finally make me hopeful in the fog line? Far from perfect illusion. Way to walk up the island, double-knotted to silence. I could never fall in line. I can feel the rain this time. It flows from the hope spring,
I can't get over that.
complacent and ready
Yeah,
for. You
guitar
say I'll
riffs that
make
sound like
it
bass
easy.
lines.
Is it all that I am and is you that I came for? Two hands are guarding my heart. I never climbed this far. And nobody waits for me, but I know nobody takes from me what I know. Secret garden, disregard my heart. And nobody waits for me, but I know nobody takes from me, but I know.
This video is really pretty. Like it's really beautiful.
Evidence just to please me. I wake uninspired. It could all be so easy if I could pull out the stitching. It's you that I came for. Two hands are guarding my heart. I never climbed this far.
What?
Holy
Okay.
shit, man.
That was a I you said you were gonna read more about the song, right?
Yeah, so I was kind of like listening to the song a few times and looking up like the lyrics. I've actually got the lyrics pulled up here too. Um, I I don't know what video I like better between like this and Constance. I think this might be my favorite music video by them because it's kind of like Constance, like it's very storytelling esque, right? Where Circle with Me, they kind of went in with the intention to make it like a live show. Like they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to give off like this is this is like a performance, like on stage, like no frills, nothing behind it, just us, the instruments in the music. But
My
this is
my
a
thing
lot.
is I have to like read the lyrics on it, but like there's some significance to this song, and I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Well, so I think a couple of the things, because it if for anyone who hasn't read the cover story, I can't remember the magazine.
It's
Um,
Kerrang.
Kerrang, the
Yeah.
Kerrang cover story for Spiritbox. If you read that, it actually helps shed a lot of light on why their music is the way it is, and this music video makes a lot more sense. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the cool things I think is with her outfit here, it's all blue, and the album is titled Eternal. What's it called?
Eternal Blue.
Eternal Blue, right? And she kind of picked that name a while ago when she was like dealing with like depression and things like that.
Yeah.
Because Eternal Blue is kind of how she views depression. So I think the full blue kind of running with the theme of the album and kind of what this album is about, especially with her like battles with like depression and stuff like that, is really
Did
cool.
did they say anything in the interview? Like, was a majority of this written in quarantine?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there was a lot of this was written, I think. I can't remember how much they said was written in quarantine, but I know there was like a 2-year period where Courtney said she was dealing with like probably like her heaviest depression and was kind of at the lowest point she was. And
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of where the idea from the album and things like that came from, which I thought was really cool. Um, but one of the things that they talked about in that article, or she talked about in that article, is that she values atmosphere and like tone more than like shock value. Because like where shock value has that initial punch, she likes having like that atmosphere feel
Yeah.
to it. And like this song, like 100% start to finish has that. Um, I think another cool thing in the music video is obviously like the three girls that are in it is
Yeah.
I don't
So
think other
I'm
than
trying
the
to figure out
very
what that
end.
is.
Well, see, I don't think except for at the very end they ever were existing at the same time.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is made because like obviously I think from like reading the lyrics and stuff like that, like Secret Garden is kind of like herself or like the like a kind of like a state in her mind where only
My
she exists.
the only thing I'm picking up is like Secret Garden is like her safe space.
Yeah.
Like it's where like whether that be like I just need to be alone right now. Like every we all have our coping mechanisms, you know?
Mhm.
And like I'm trying to figure out if like that's what this song is like about. Like
Yeah.
I need to go over the lyrics a lot more and listen to this song
hmm
even more than I already have. But
And see, I think that
yeah.
would make sense though, because if you look at it from the context of those three girls are her, one is obviously like adolescent, one looks
Mhm.
like to be a teenager, and then there's the adult version of her, right?
Yeah.
So, and then each time they go back to this tree and you touch it and it reacts to them. So that would lead to the assumption that they are the same person. Because if this is her like secret garden, like her safe space, right? Like her space that she withdraws to when she's dealing with like heavy or hard moments in her life, like especially like the loss of her grandmother, like her fights with depression and things like that. And this tree is reacting to her. She's going to the same place at different points in her life. So I think that's
Mhm.
cool. like their imagery, like this music video is like watching a fucking movie
Yeah.
because like the shots, like the angles, everything like that, and it tells like such an interesting story, start to finish.
Hmm.
Like it's such a, and it's just like really beautiful, like in a different way than like Constance was. Um, it's
I
just
like
really fucking
everything
awesome, man.
they do with their videos. Like
Yeah.
everything, like we were talking about before. We'll probably say it a lot more. Is like atmosphere.
Hmm.
Everybody in that band like contributes to like videos and stuff like that from like what we've been told in comments and from like interviews and stuff like that. So like every video they have like just sucks you in basically. Like you're
Hmm.
it's like you're there. So
Yeah, and it's cool the way they use like atmosphere and imagery, right? Because like one of the, in that same cover story when she was talking about Holy Roller, like Holy Roller obviously had a Midsummer vibe, like kind of theme to it, but the the other entity, like the painted face woman, she said is kind of like she views it as like it's her version of like the devil, like as she grew up, and it's partly as like the devil like talking to her, um as kind of like an alter, like an, I wouldn't say alter ego, but like as a separate voice that's there with her, right?
yeah.
And then you go to Constance, and that's another really personal song and video, but that's about specifically with her grandmother and like her grandmother's fight with like Alzheimer's and the loss of her grandmother. And then you go to this video that is very personal and is more talking about like her safe space and like her mental state and things like that. And I think it's really interesting the way that, and then of course you have like Circle with Me, which is more of like an unplugged, like more like a raw performance from them. So I really like the way that there is such a different feel to every one of their videos, but they always keep that atmosphere the same way that it's in their music, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Like it's always there in their music. And the thing that is I feel like different with this band as opposed to like a lot of other like metalcore bands, which I recently the only ones that I've really seen that kind of get on this level of personal is like Landmarks and um as everything unfolds, but like
mhm.
her writing is like on another level of like personal.
Yes.
And like
Hmm.
every song that you're gonna listen to is like her like it sounds like edgy, but it's like she's like ripping her heart out and just like giving it to you. Like in every song.
You know what's also cool? Same thing in that cover story. She talks about the reason why she uses like imagery and metaphors, and she says she uses imagery and metaphors heavily because she kind of hides behind it. Like that's how she talks about what's going on. She's like, it's kind of like my safe space. It's like I hide in the shadow of like imagery and metaphors. And if you compare that to like, I think the easiest one to compare that to, because they're almost like polar opposites in a sense, is Linkin Park with Chester Bennington, right? Like Chester was very upfront and like raw with his mental illness and depression. Like, I mean, look at songs like Given Up and like Bleed It Out and things like that, especially like Given Up, um like Numb. They're all very raw and like upfront, and they hit really fucking hard, right? And then you go to Courtney, who can do the same thing but does it with such heavy imagery and metaphor, like it sucks you in like a movie, and you can almost like you can like picture in your head exactly what she's describing and almost like put yourself there, especially if you deal with like depression and like anxiety and things like that. Like it's really beautiful in a way. Like her writing is absolutely like insane. And it's one of my biggest draws to this band, 100%.
I'm sitting here and I'm like thinking like you were talking about Linkin Park and stuff like that and like I mean, from the get go, like Hybrid Theory is just all literally about him and like what he's
Hmm.
going through. It's like
Yeah.
insane. Like even
Yeah.
from like an early thing, because like usually
Hmm.
it's just like with Spirit Box. Usually that's something like you kind of like work your way into and you get a little bit more comfortable with. But it's like there are these few artists that like get to that point where like from the very get go it's like that. So like you have like Linkin
Yeah.
Park or like Kid Cudi for instance, where like
Yeah.
everything's kind
Kid
of
Cudi's a big
masked.
one.
Everything's like masked by like an upbeat kind of thing, and like there's a
Hmm.
couple like ones where you can like really tell. And I feel like that is like this with Spirit Boxes, like it's a heavy song, right? Here
Hmm.
you have what's going on here, and you're trying to like listen along with like all that's going on with the instruments, and then like you have this just like insane song like lyrically that's written, and you're like
Hmm.
trying to just like put it all together. So it's like that. Like with Kid Cudi, I've had to go back hundreds of times, look over songs and everything, and I'm like, Jesus, like this is insane. Or
Yeah.
like,
Like Kid Cudi, I think is
yeah,
another really good artist at using, because I think he does. I think Kid Cudi actually does both really well. Because
mm-hmm,
if you look like at songs like I think uh Day and Night's a good one, like Pursuit of Happiness.
mm-hmm,
Like both of those are really heavy with like imagery and metaphors that, but Day and Night also has like very like towards the end, like very upfront, like raw expressions of what he's dealing with like his mental illness. And he was one of like the first like hip hop artists that really was open about his like depression and mental illness, which I respect the shit out of.
mm-hmm,
But that's the thing, is like I think what helps Spirit Box for sure is obviously Courtney and Mike were in I Wrestled a Bear once, where they were kind of she was kind of performing someone else's song.
yeah, that's what they were
And then
saying. Is they
yeah,
both
and
felt like
then
that they're like we're not going anywhere.
yeah, because like they kind of hit that stopping point.
Yeah,
And then so she goes into this new band, so she's already been making music. They haven't been making music as a band that long, but I think that also helped her kind of move directly into like, this is what I want to talk about, like this is what I want this band to be.
mm-hmm,
And one thing I actually really like that she pointed out in that article too is that there is a big difference between like heavy music and like pop music, where in heavy music the vocalist is kind of in there with the band, whereas in pop and hip hop, things like that, the instrumentals, the beat and everything is there to support the vocalist. And that's kind of what she does. That's kind of what Spirit Box does, right? Because like obviously not knocking the instrumentals at all. They have plenty of time to shine. But I think Spirit Box does this really unique thing specifically with heavy music, where the focal point whenever she is there is Courtney. And like the instrumentals do so well at like coming together and giving her this platform and pushing her up when she needs to be. And it just like it like fucking punches you. Because like I
mm-hmm,
said, like when the first time I really sat down and listened to Blessed Be was the Sirius XM liquid metal performance, and straight teared up, because that's just what her music does. That's what Spirit Box does, but like that's what her writing does. Is it just sucks you in, and it just hits you. And I don't I there's a lot of really talented vocalists and like writers and stuff out there, but I think Courtney has, in this short span being with Spirit Box over these past few years, have shown that like she's built different.
yeah.
She's built different.
The thing is like that's what happens, and I feel like this is one of those rare moments where you're seeing it, and it's like it's being handed to you right now. Like, look at what's
Hmm.
going on here. Where like, yeah, people like Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi just was kind of like, here's Kid Cudi, and like,
Yeah.
still nowadays it's still like there's the cult following of people who just like Kid Cudi and people who
Hmm.
don't get it. And
Yeah.
then you have stuff like the young chick that just came out. Her name is Olivia Rodrigo. Like if you sit there, and the funny part is like they're talking about like all the millennials feeling old like listening to it, but they like get it.
Hmm.
And the thing is like,
Yep.
it's like every once in a while there's this person that comes out and they just like can, I'm trying to think of it. They can
They
like,
kind of have like a universal reach.
yeah, it's like you just understand like what's going on.
Hmm.
Like they
Yeah,
can
like they
100% like speak to you, all of that. I'm like,
yeah, they like transcend their generation, right? Like it's
yeah,
not like this is my generation's music where only people in their generation
yeah. It's just
enjoy
like
them. It just
it's
spans
everybody.
past that.
Like everybody can
Hmm.
understand it because, and it's like with there's so much stuff that like I've related to. This is gonna drive me crazy. Is like you really connect with what was the song that you really connect with?
From Spiritbox,
Yeah,
Blessed Be,
yeah. The one I connect with is
Beauty of Suffering, right?
Beauty of Suffering, but
Hmm.
it's
I
like
remember.
yeah, it's just I I, I don't know what it is because you have these songs by people and like every once in a while like there's a song that kind of like hits you, but it's like every song they put out just like smacks you across the face.
Hmm.
Like, and it's not like this is heavy as hell. It's like no, like emotional. Like every
Yeah,
song, which
like I
is just
remember.
like it. And the thing is there's a lot of bands that can write stuff like that, but it's like every couple of songs. It's not like every song. Whereas like
Mhm.
with this, I think that's what's so special about this is like this isn't something that just happens all the time.
Agreed. Because one of the interesting things is I know Courtney was nervous releasing this because like worrying about what people would think of it because it's obviously one of their least heavy songs, right? Like
Mm,
there's no screaming, there's no growls, anything like that. But that's what I love about this song because we talked about this and like when we were talking about Constance the first time, is not every song has to have screaming in it. Like
yeah,
not every song like you don't have to be a metal band and you scream and you have to do it in every song. And then even if it's there, you don't have to put it in there all the time. And that's what I love about Spiritbox is and like with Courtney with her vocals is she's like, I'm going to do what I want to do and what I feel is the best for this song and
yeah.
just fuck if anyone doesn't like it,
I
right?
think
Because
another
I think if this song had screaming in it, it would be worse for it. Like the
yeah,
fact that this is just her singing it, it's just like a really beautiful song.
yeah. She like I don't know. She just knows how to do what does basically, and does it
She's a
like
great artist, hands down.
at the top of the line here. That's what she is.
Hmm.
And then I think something that's a little like it's not annoying, but it's like you start to understand um why different people like different things, right? Because
Hmm.
I saw a comment that was for the video that we did before this, and it was just to the song, and somebody had written that it sounds like everything that they released in 2017, and the only thing I could think of is like, yeah, it's like Genty, like everything they put out in 2017,
Hmm.
but like there's yelling in like almost all the songs, like
Yeah.
Mara Effect 1, 2, and 3 were all on the 2017 EP.
Yeah.
But it's like everything was just like there's a lot of gent in it, and like they kind of like slowed it down a little bit. But this song, like
Yeah.
the riff in it is just like it was back in the day, but like her vocals aren't anything like they were back then.
Yeah.
So that's where it
Like
comes
they
into
find
play, where like people are like, I like I like the way these instruments sound, and then they're like, of course Courtney's Courtney, but like there's just something that isn't there with them when they see that, and it's kind of like made me understand like why when bands kind of grow, people like walk away because they're like
hmm
this isn't like what it was before, and it's like well no, but it's kind of like even better because like
yeah.
I did the same thing like with Bring Me the Horizon. Bring Me the Horizon had like a staple in what deathcore was when it first came out, and then they did I can't remember what it was, but it's like some chick and she has like her organs in her hand basically. That was their second
Hmm.
album, and kind of like changed the way of like how you can mix like deathcore and metalcore. but with just like
Hmm.
straight up like deathcore vocals basically. And it
Yeah.
like Ollie was experimenting with his voice and growing with his voice, just like Courtney. Her voice doesn't sound anything like it did in 2017,
No.
and
And she straight
I
up
think
said
that
she's grown as a vocalist
yeah,
too.
but like people started walking away from Bring the Horizon along with me because I wanted that old stuff back. That's what I
Hmm.
was used to, and then I go back and I look at everything that they've put out, and like, dude, he like spills his fucking heart out, just like she
Hmm.
does in his songs. But it's just like the band has grown into different things, and they've grown into what they can do, like top notch, basically.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just like I don't know. Like you have these, like I said before, I don't know why. It's like a phenomenon. Basically, you're just like, what is happening right now? Because I remember, like when we found them, and then I showed you Belcara. You remember watching it, and you're like, this isn't doing anything for me.
Hmm.
And then um, I made you react to what was the song?
Well, Constance was the first one,
Yeah, Constance, and you're like,
and
this
then like
like
Holy,
you're like this is like this is
because
working for me here.
I remember because how that went because I liked Constance. I was like, this is a really cool song. And then I listened to Holy Roller and I was like, I really like this song too. And then I started listening to their album. And then when I watched that live performance for Blessed Be, that was what did it. That's when I was like, I love this band. Because I was talking to Robot and I I have now accepted that Spiritbox currently is my favorite band.
Yeah.
Like, because as much as I love Power Trip, everyone knows I fucking love Power Trip. I'm always gonna love Power Trip. What I loved about Power Trip is the fact that it put like old school thrash metal instrumentals, which I loved. Like I was a big old school Metallica fan. Like first four albums, I pretty much despise everything after that, outside of a few songs. But I loved those instrumentals, and then you pair that with Riley's vocals, but more so with just how Riley was and like his stage presence is what hooked me. But they're a very like political band, right? Which I love. But I connect more with music that is more personal and emotional
Hmm.
because that's how I work through like but that's when I was a teenager, like around like 14 to 16, when I really got into music. Because I wasn't really into music before that, and I was going through the roughest parts of my life. Music is how I dealt with the emotions I couldn't vent. Like I couldn't talk to anyone. I didn't know how to get them out in a healthy way. Heavy music was the big way that I did that. Um, so heavy music has just always been there through that, and I've always connected with writing that is more emotional and personal, and that's what Courtney does with her music. But I also love just writing, like period. Like people who have like really like great use of metaphors and imagery, and like you can picture it when you hear it. Like Courtney combines all the things that I love in writing and vocals and music, and then you couple that with Spiritbox's instrumentals with like obviously like the heavy instrumentals and the unique way they do it, and it's just like perfect. Um, because another thing that I was kind of thinking of too is like another band that we talk about a lot as everything unfolds, right? Like No Secret, we love them, but I think Charlie is another one of those writers that is a bit more like forward and upfront with how she feels. Like a perfect example is I think it's Wallow
Yeah.
when she was like, um,
She was
you
very
pit
open
everyone
about
against me.
she was
Yeah,
very open
like
about how emotional that song was for her, how much it
yeah,
meant to her, and then not only that, but it was the most experimental she was with her voice and her
yeah.
vocals.
But look at like the chorus. I think for that, I think it was either this or Wither. I'm pretty sure it was Wallow though. Where it's like you pit me everyone against me when you thought I was weak. Like that whole chorus was very forward, like raw. Like this is what happened. This is what you did to me, right?
Hmm.
And she does use like imagery and metaphors and things like that. But I think she more scales like tips towards the scales of like forward and like open and like raw with what happened to her and like what she's feeling. And then you go to someone like Courtney, who kind of hides behind that imagery and metaphor and uses that in order to express what she's feeling without being direct. Like, I'm dealing with like depression, or like this broke me down, and instead uses like the metaphors, like, her secret guarding, like it flows from the hope spring complacent in rare form, like in the first verse. Like, and I love seeing those two different ways because they're both amazing. It's amazing to see an artist that's like really raw and forward with what they're feeling, and then someone else who uses it like imagery and metaphors. It's just like how different people deal with depression, right? Not everyone
Yeah.
deals with depression in the same way. Not everyone copes with trauma the same way.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of a very different and unique way that she deals with it, and it's just fucking amazing. Like,
Yeah.
just give me the album. Give me
I
the
think
album.
we need to end it here because we're over
Yeah.
30 minutes, but we can legitimately just make a video on us just talking
Yeah.
about what
Mhm. Yeah,
Spirit Box
everyone, let
is
us
for
know in the
us. So
comments. Let us know in the comments if you want us to talk more about,
because we can make
kind
a
of more.
very in-depth video.
Yeah, like we can
Yeah.
make an in-depth video talking about Spiritbox, or like one of the other bands that we've been listening to, like Landmarks, as everything unfolds. I'd probably say this, or as everything unfolds,
Yeah.
probably be the best because I think those are the two we're listening to. But yeah, let us know in the comments if that's something that you're interested in checking out. All right, you want to close this out, AJ?
Yeah. Well, my name is AJ.
And I'm Frankie.
We are the Den of Weebs. Um, I don't know when this video is going up, but when it goes up, it's going up, and I hope you enjoy. If you're upset that we did 2 of these videos, sorry.
Okay.
And yeah, we've got a lot of new stuff coming up, and yeah, just check us out.
Hmm.
Subscribe, hit the bell button, comment down below. See
Give
you
us a like
later.
if you like it. Bye.
Goodbye.